HMPV. Ever get that feeling like a new virus just kind of pops up out of nowhere?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Most people haven't even heard of it.
You're right. It's seriously under the radar for how common it actually is.
It's a respiratory bug. Pretty much everywhere, and it hits kids and older folks especially hard.
And yeah, it can be rough on anyone with a weaker immune system, that's for sure.
You know, scientific and stuff. Want to try and make this real for everyone listening?
Sure.
So picture this, okay? It's winter, and there's this little girl, maybe 3 years old. We can call her Emma.
Okay, Emma got.
And she starts coughing.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, at first it seems like, just a regular cold.
Right, the usual.
But then it gets worse.
Oh, no.
She starts wheezing, her breathing gets all labored, and her parents are freaking out, as you can imagine.
Yeah, that's a really tough situation for any parent, and they might not even think about HMPV being the cause.
Exactly. And turns out little Emma has bronchiolitis, and you guessed it, it's caused by HMPV.
Wow.
She ends up in the hospital. Things are touch and go for a while, but thankfully she pulls through.
That's good to hear. She's a tough one.
She is, but her story, it kind of highlights how HMPV is a big deal globally, even though most folks haven't heard of it.
It really does, and the story of this virus is pretty fascinating, especially how it went undetected for so long.
Yeah, like it was hiding in plain sight. What's the deal with that?
So get this, HMPV wasn't officially discovered until 2001?
Seriously? 2001?
I know, right? Researchers in the Netherlands were the ones who finally found it.
So it was just slipping through the cracks all that time?
It seems that way. They were studying kids with these unexplained respiratory infections, and bam, there it was.
Wild. And didn't I read somewhere that it's part of the Paramyxoviridae family?
You did. Good memory.
Yeah.
That family's got some real heavy hitters like measles and mumps,
Oh, wow. Yeah, I remember learning about those back in school.
But here's something even more interesting.
Okay, I'm listening.
HMPV is actually related to bird viruses, too.
Bird viruses, huh?
Yeah, and that suggests that it probably jumped from birds to humans sometime in the past, maybe even centuries ago.
Centuries? You're kidding, right?
Nope, it's possible it's been around that long.
Wow. Okay, so switching gears a bit here, we've got some headlines about HMPV research happening in China. What's their role in all this?
China's really become a powerhouse when it comes to virology research, which is good and bad.
How so?
Well, they're doing some important work analyzing different strains of HMPV.
What are they finding?
They're looking at how it spreads, how it mutates, all that stuff, and they're actually finding that some specific mutations might be making it more contagious.
That doesn't sound too good.
No, it's something to keep an eye on for sure.
And I think there was also something about unusual outbreaks happening in China too, right?
You're right, there have been, and they're popping up in areas where HMPV wasn't common before, so that's unusual.
So what's going on there?
Well, it's raised some concerns, about how labs in China are handling these viruses.
You mean safety-wise?
Exactly. Some experts are even speculating that there might have been accidental releases from labs, but, and this is important, that's just speculation for now. Nothing's been confirmed.
Okay, so let me get this straight.
Sure.
We've got this virus that's more common than we thought, could be centuries old, potentially jumped from birds to humans, and now there's this whole lab safety question hanging over it.
Pretty much sums it up, and there's a lot more to unpack too, especially about how climate change might be playing a role in all this.
Climate change and a virus. Okay, now you've really got my attention.
Well, think about it this way. Those melting glaciers we keep hearing about.
Yeah.
They're releasing all sorts of ancient microbes, right? And some scientists are starting to think that HMPV might actually have traces of those ancient viruses in its genetic code.
Wait, so HMPV might have ancient virus DNA hiding within it? That's kind of creepy.
It's definitely an interesting theory, but even beyond ancient viruses, climate change is messing with animal habitats, pushing them closer to humans.
And that's bad because...
Well, it increases the chances of a virus jumping from animals to people, which is, how a lot of pandemics get started.
Makes sense. So climate change is basically creating more opportunities for viruses like HMPV to spread.
Exactly. And there's another layer to this too. Climate change is also putting a lot of stress on healthcare systems around the world.
Oh, right. I can see how that would make it harder to deal with outbreaks.
It does. Makes it harder to respond effectively.
Let's talk about what's being done to fight HMPV. What's the good news?
Well, the research on vaccines and antiviral treatments is actually looking pretty promising.
That's good to hear. Are they close to having something that works?
It's still early, but they're making good progress, especially considering we didn't even know this virus existed a few decades ago.
That is pretty impressive, but considering how widespread this HMPV thing is, it seems like it's going to take a global effort to really deal with it, right?
You're absolutely right. No single country can solve this alone. International collaboration is key here.
So what does that look like, practically speaking?
Well, it means sharing information, pooling resources, and having experts from different countries work together.
And what are they working on specifically?
The big things are developing effective vaccines, finding new treatments, and coming up with smart public health strategies to contain outbreak.
We can do to protect ourselves and our families from HMPV, besides just hoping for a vaccine.
Sounds good to me. What do you have in mind?
Well, I'm curious about the everyday stuff, Are there things we can do in our daily lives to reduce our risk?
Absolutely. A lot of the same precautions we take for other respiratory viruses like the flu or COVID apply to HMPV too.
So the classic stuff like washing our hands often, covering our coughs and sneezes, staying home if we're feeling sick.
You got it. Those simple habits make a big difference. Really can slow down the spread.
It's funny how easy it is to forget the basics sometimes, especially when we're looking for those high-tech solutions.
I know, right? But those basic actions, if everyone does them, it can really have a ripple effect, protecting not just ourselves, but the people around us too.
Right, it's about community.
Exactly. We're all in this together.
I'm making a mental note. Wash hands, cover coughs, stay home when sick. Got it.
Perfect.
Now, what about masks? They've become pretty common in recent years. Do they offer any protection against HMPV?
They can, for sure, especially in crowded indoor spaces. They help reduce transmission. And the good news is, the same types of masks that work for other respiratory viruses work for HMPV too.
So no need to hunt down some special HMPV-specific mask.
Nope, the ones you already have will do the job.
Good to know.
It's all about being informed and making the best choices for ourselves and our families. The more we understand these connections, the better equipped we'll be to address them effectively.
True. So let's end this part of the discussion. Listeners who want to learn more about HMPV and stay updated on the latest research, what resources would you recommend?
There are some excellent websites out there. The World Health Organization and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention both have good information.
Those are always good sources.
And of course, podcasts like this one can help keep you informed too. We try our best to break down complex topics and make them accessible to everyone.
Speaking of which, for those who want to dive even deeper into the research, we'll be including links to some of the articles we discussed in the show notes. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And remember, stay curious, stay informed, and take care of yourself.